I am going to show you how to assemble this first project, the 5-panel DSP card in this kit. So what you need to start with is a 5.5 by 7.5 inch piece of cardstock. This is mint macaron, and it is scored at let's see, the first score is just at 3 1/4, and it is just parallel to this short side. Can you see that okay? I got a little close, didn't I? So that is how this one folds. So go ahead and fold on that and burnish this with your bone folder. You're also going to need some of the Sweet Symmetry DSP, which is designer series paper. The first set of 5 little pieces here should be cut if you have the kit. Otherwise, cut off 5 pieces of DSP that are 7/8 of an inch wide by 2 3/4 of an inch long. Okay, so get 5 that kind of coordinate together. And then you're also going to need a piece of coordinating paper for on the inside. You can choose whichever side you prefer, but this is going to go on the inside of the card, and this is cut at 1 by 5, 1 inch by 5 inches, and it's going to go horizontally. All right, then we have some white cardstock, some basic white, and we have 2 pieces of that. One of them is 3 1/4 by 5, and then another one is 3 by 5 1/4. Okay, the 3 by 5 1/4 is going to be going on the front with the DSP panels, and then this one is going to be stamped and will go on the inside and the bottom front of the card. Okay, all right, so we also need a soft succulent shade of the shimmer vellum, and that I have already pre-cut for you, and that is a circle, and this just so it's approximately 2.5 or so. Let's see, I should measure this for you. Cut a circle that's approximately about 2 1/4 inch in diameter out of this vellum. And then I also have in the kits about, how many do I have of these? We need some little punches from the punch that is part of the bundle in this suite. And these are just little greenery punches. And we're going to make like a little frame, a round frame on this. And I have approximately, let's see, how many do I have in here? I just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7, 8. You'll just have to kind of use what you have, and we might not need them all, but I have plenty here, and I'm just going to use them all on this green side like that. Then we also are going to need some ribbon. I have some really sturdy, really pretty with gold. It has some gold running through it, gold thread. This is the Just Jade and Gold braided ribbon. I have approximately 16 inches of that. We're going to need Versamark ink, which is a sticky type of ink for embossing. And we're going to need some white embossing powder. A heat tool, of course, also. Have some dimensionals, multi-purpose liquid glue, Wink of Stella. I also have an envelope included, and that we can also decorate for the project also. And a stamp set. So for this one, I've decided to use Thanks Friend. The actual original one that I had showed you said Happy Birthday, and from the same stamp set, I'm just going to use Thanks Friend on this one instead with the same idea. It's still from the Happy Birthday, or I mean it's from the Biggest Wish stamp set. And then whatever stamp you would like as a sentiment on the inside. For this one, I had used a little sentiment here that was from Lighthearted Lines. I am going to not put that one on today just because this is a thank you card, and so I'm going to be holding off on putting the sentiment in the inside for now. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is I do want to make this this panel with the 5 pieces of DSP on it, and that one is the one that is narrower in width. So this one is the 5 1/4 by 3 inch piece, 3 by 5 1/4, and it was the basic white. And we are going to go ahead and adhere all of those panels on. And so you can decide which type of adhesive you would like to use. You just may want to line them or just kind of lay them out to start with and just see how they fit on there, how you want them spaced and that kind of thing. You can use either side, so this is the way I had it on the sample, but you could totally switch it up and do it, you know, use other sides if you would like them better, or a different layout, that kind of thing. But this is what I've chosen to do. You can pick whatever you'd like, and we're going to go ahead and adhere these on to our basic white piece here. I think I am just going to use the this is our liquid glue, which is called our multi-purpose liquid glue. Use any type of an adhesive that it will hold well. The nice thing about the liquid adhesive is that it is movable. You can set it down on your project and kind of wiggle it around a little bit to get it exactly where you want. Whereas other adhesives that aren't the liquid, they will hold right away. You won't be able to move it at all. So this is nice that you can wiggle it around to get it to go ahead and adhere exactly where you want it. You have a little bit of time. So, but once it does catch, then it holds really nice and strong. Okay. And I think I want to do, I'll wait on the middle one. I'll do the colored ones next. Kind of want to have a similar amount of white space showing in between all of them, so I'm just kind of getting a feel for the spacing here to make sure it looks nice and even. And I think I gotta move that over just a little bit more. Okay, now we'll do this one. You just don't want too much of that glue to ooze out, because then when it dries, it does show a little bit. You do have to kind of remove that usually, because it'll have a little shimmer where it oozed on through, and that just takes away from the look of your card. So, but if you do have some come out, you can use a gum eraser to be able to get that off. It's just nice to not have to do that. So if you can avoid getting it on there to start with, that's all the better. All right, so that is done. And next I am going to pull in, let's see, we have our ribbon. I'm going to be tying a bow on that, but I better wait yet. And actually maybe we'll do this. We'll do our stamping with and embossing. Stamping with Versamark ink onto our vellum. Just a few things to keep in mind. You are going to need a heat tool for this, and just whatever heat tool you have, if you have one. If not, you'll need to get one. And I am just using this from the Sweet Symmetry stamp set. It is this image right here, and since this is photopolymer, it's something that's easy to show, easy to look through and see right through the block onto where you're putting it. Before I put this down, I'm just going to kind of brush it off a little bit, just to make sure that I don't have anything on there that will cause the powder to stick where I don't want it to stick. So I'm going to just try to stamp this approximately in the middle. Give it a good even press, and then I'm going to be embossing that with white embossing powder. And here, let's pull that in. I like to usually use a piece of scrap paper or a coffee filter, that kind of thing, to be able to put the powder back into the little container there. So I like to be very liberal with dumping it on, and then I just pour the excess back into the container. So let's do that. It'll just kind of stick. A lot of it I can pour right back in this way, I think, without needing the paper as much. Okay. Give it a little blowing off there a little bit, and what you do is, if you do have a lot of powder that is stuck on other areas that you didn't want it to stick onto, just go ahead and grab any kind of a little paintbrush or something that can get into some of these little areas, and then you can just brush off any little particles that are on there in other areas that you don't want on there. Because once you heat this, whatever's on there is going to melt and adhere really well. So I think I got all of that pretty well. And I'll move that aside. Then we're going to go ahead and heat this, and it will emboss. I'm going to just hold it down here with my pencil or my paintbrush here, but I'm going to turn this on. It's going to be noisy, so I apologize for that. I'm going to let it heat up a little bit. And the heat tool will melt the embossing powder and make it kind of like a shiny plastic. You can see it kind of get really white, and that's how you know that it did it. You don't want to overheat it. It can cause your vellum to warp, or your project can kind of even burn a little bit. So if I would touch that right now, it would be kind of hot. I'm seeing a little bit that went out a little, but I can kind of clean that up and get some of that off kind of gently, and it might not come off very well. So that is the purpose of using that ahead of time, to just kind of scrape that off so it doesn't adhere. It's kind of coming off a little bit, but it's not a big deal. You won't really notice it. If you have any of those, just do your best to get them off as good as you can. Yeah, there's a little bit more on there than I would like, but it is what it is, I guess. And then this is going to be made into like a little wreath, kind of, I guess it's like a wreath. So it's going to go on here with those cutouts, punch outs that are going to go around the outside edge. So since I'm going to be putting this onto here, I'm first going to adhere the little pieces of greenery around the outside edge. And again, you can use whatever type of adhesive you prefer. I am going to kind of lay them out and just see how they're, how I should space them out a little bit and see if I overlap a lot or not. Just gives you an idea of how to space that out. And some of them go on this, kind of go in this direction. And again, this came from the punch from this bundle, which is, it's called Symmetrical Stems Border Punch. And I just punched a bunch out of the greenery paper. And on the other side was this, which is in the center here. On the back of that paper is this greenery that we're using to make this little frame around the vellum. And the vellum is cut out with the scalloped circles. One of the scallop circles or nesting dies. What are they called? Oh, did I not put it on there? But it's one of any kind of a circle that you have that's right around this size. I think it was 2 1/4, right? Any of those that you have would work just fine. Now, this doesn't have a lot of overlap, so I will just kind of put them on there, and end to end, not a lot of overlap or extra. So that's good to know, because you can kind of rearrange things depending on how big they are. And I'm going to use, I think with this one, I'm going to actually use some glue dots. And you can use whatever you prefer or whatever you have. These are pretty quick. They're mini glue dots. And I am going to just put 1 or 2 on the back of each of these. So where are you, glue dots? You're coming out here. All right. So actually, I'm just going to put 1 in the middle probably of each. And start adhering that on. I'll start at the top and just kind of go right along that edge. I think I might just try to get these all with the glue dots on the back right away, so I don't have to keep coming back and doing that. As long as I am not bumping stuff and they go flying and then the glue dots isn't there, you know, those types of things can happen. They usually do happen to me too, but we'll see. Maybe I can avoid that today. Famous last words, right? So I'm just going to tuck it underneath a little bit. And I'm kind of purposely sticking that onto myself so I don't lose it. It was intentional. Alrighty. Alright, here's another one. I think I might need one more. Let's see. Yeah, I think I am going to get one more real quick here since I can do that. Let's get that punch back that I just showed you. That's this one. And I just want to get one more of these sprigs cut off of this type of the same green. And so that means I have to try to dig up a little scrap, right? I could use this and then make it smaller for the inside. That's what I'll do. So if you end up having to, well, you probably wouldn't be able to punch it though unless you have the punch, right? So I'm just going to punch one of those out. I think I might have lost one after I had taken this out. So we're going to revamp what we're doing on the inside so that I could get one more of those. That's kind of how it works. You know, you end up kind of changing things as you go as the need arises. Okay, so there's our little greenery around the outside of that. And that's going to go onto here. So what I'm going to do is put a dimensional, and that's going to be on the back. I'm going to put it behind the image that we stamped and embossed on there. I'm going to do a couple of these little ones. You don't want to have a lot of adhesive on the back of vellum because it does sometimes show through, but if you want to find ways of kind of concealing that and hiding it somewhat. So that's why I'm doing it on the back of this stamped and embossed area. Now before I adhere that down though, I got to tie that bow. So I'm going to tie it around here, and it's going to be off to the side a little bit. And I think bow tying is something that is kind of, you know, people don't have a lot of confidence in it. So it does take a little practice, but you can, you know, maybe do a knot if you're not comfortable with it, doing a bow. You know, find what works for you. So hopefully you don't have too much trouble with your ribbon and finding something decorative. So here you can see I made it plenty long, so that 16 inches probably could have been more like 13 or so, but I'm going to get my little snips here, trim off these tails. Go like that and like this. Now the ends of this ribbon does tend to fray easily, so you don't want to play with it too much, at least not touching the ends too much, because you can see it frays very easily. And we'll go ahead and just want to make sure it's all smooth. And we will put this over it right in the middle. Okay, and I'm pressing down on those adhesive, foam adhesive dimensionals that are on there. And kind of getting this into place. Now this is sticking up a little bit more than I like. Kind of tuck it behind that. and kind of work with it a little bit to get it where I want. I could cut those tails a little shorter so that they don't get in the way. Okay, so here is the main focal point of the front that's going to be adhered onto the front here. So we can go ahead and actually put that on. I'm going to just use some this liquid glue again. Could even put it here if you want. And we'll just kind of center that on that front panel. And again, we'll just wiggle it into place so that it gets nice and straight and even amounts around. This gives you a real nice display of some of the different papers that come in this paper set here. And kind of stick this up a little bit, kind of play with it and make this pop up a little bit more on the bottom. There we go, fluff it. And I'll be putting some adhesive, some embellishments on here as well. And what I included in the kit was some of these opal rounds, they're called. So we can get, I actually am using these on the tips of the little shape that's our focal point. They're kind of big, but they're subtle too. And I feel like they match pretty well. I don't want to use, let's go the bigger one in the middle. I think I'm missing one. Oh, I see it now. I found it. Yep, I can use these. I have 3 that are this medium size. And they do have adhesive on the back. So that makes them easy to put on. And then I have 2 more, so these you can just put, they're the larger ones. Just put them wherever you want, and there's no right or wrong. Sometimes we like to, figure out exactly where something goes, but there's no right or wrong. So whatever you feel like doing. Okay? All right, I'll give you a little more of a close-up on that. Can you kind of see so far where things are? Okay, oops, just trying to get you a little bit better idea. Okay, now we're going to be stamping our sentiment on there, but before we do that, we need to have our white layer adhered on. And so that was this other basic white piece that comes in the set, and this is the one that was 3 1/4 by 5. And this one, we're going to want to look more at the bottom, and it's going to have a lot of excess area on the top, but we're going to be putting some of our designer series paper up there anyways. And you can see that I got some glue there. Some of that will be covered up with our designer series paper. And since I went and punched it, and I'm going to be trimming that down so it's nice and straight. Normally, you would be able to just go ahead and use this on here on the inside and just overlap like that. But what I should have done, if I were thinking, and now I think of it, but I should have punched it right in the middle, and then had that be a decorative punch out, and this would have showed. Oh, I'm mad at myself for not thinking of that. I'll show you what I mean. So I'm going to put this in here in the center. And I'm just kind of putting it wherever. And if I wouldn't have punched this out, then it would have looked kind of cool with this showing through. Like that. Showing through the basic, this cardstock color would be coming through there. But I didn't do that, so, what can I say? We are going to leave that off for now, just for the sake of brevity here. So go ahead and adhere your strip on there. Next thing we're going to do is stamp our sentiment. And I'm going to be stamping Thanks Friend right on the right here. And I just want it to be fairly straight. And I'm going to use the same color as the basic background, which is the mint macaron. And you can use whatever color you like best. You know, you could use a different color. You could use Night of Navy or another color from any of these colors in that designer series paper that's on the front. Would be just fine. Okay, you have one shot. That's the only thing. You gotta make sure it turns out all right. I hope I have enough ink on there. But you don't want too much so that it makes a big blob either. So let's wing it here and hope that it gets a nice clear image. All right, thanks friend. Yeah, that's not too bad. All right, so here's a thank you card. This nice designer series paper would go here, and then you would have plenty of room to still write a message to your recipient there. And there is card number 1. Thank you so much. I'll be back with the next one. Oops. There we go. All right. Thanks so much.